My friend ignored my warning about his boyfriend, so I'm not giving him any sympathy.
Hey, where's the sympathy? I can't find it. Oh, I left it back there.
Sympathy? Not from me. So I, 25 male, was part of a kind of big friend group in college. And in that group, there were two guys, Damien, 25 male, and Jake, 27 male. At the time we met, Damien and I were 18 and Jake was 20. By the way, this comes from I swear, on the r/OKStorytime. Sorry about that. So we got pretty close since we were in the same classes and always paired up to work in these. So by like halfway through that year, we had become very close friends. And by the end of it, we had gotten to the point in friendship where we were comfortable telling each other stuff people normally would tell their therapists. In our second year, around September or so, Jake started dating Tom, 28 male. Currently, he was 21 or almost 22 when he met Jake. Jake was also in class with us, but we never talked because he always just gave me weird vibes. I couldn't explain it, but something was just off about him. When he started dating Jake, I obviously lied and said I was happy for Jake because he had been telling us a lot about how he wanted to finally have a boyfriend. So Damien and I were supportive and often pretended to gush whenever Jake would talk about Tom and the things that he did. Like he would gush about how sweet Tom was because he asked how his day was, that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah, but it's like that's like the top level being nice.
You can't do anything more.
Question.
Like we'll show him right now. Ready? Dakota, how was your day?
I'm gonna marry you.
So that's cool. I don't care. So like I made a mystery wheel today and like spun it on chat. Isn't that cool?
Oh yeah, no, ignore exactly.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna keep talking.
Yeah.
See, guys, do you see how terrible that was? That's how it can be. Yeah. In our third year, things went to heck. Jake had failed the one class that we all, Damien, Jake, Tom, and I shared. So he had to retake that class, and that left Tom with Damien and I. Many times, I caught Tom ogling other people. I did tell Jake immediately, but he brushed it off, telling me that he didn't care and that looking at others was legal, etc., etc. But I kept an eye on Tom either way. Then he started to make moves on Damien, who was extremely uncomfortable because not only was he not into Tom at all, he was also straight. I am not going to give the full list, so it gets pretty long, but I'll just give some examples. Number one time Tom hugged us goodbye after class and hugged Damien for a bit too long for comfort, and once he let go, he grabbed his arm and said, "Oh wow, you're so meaty."
Oh.
You're so meaty.
That's one way to describe that.
And Damien made this face you get when you're highly uncomfortable. We were all sitting on the floor outside of a lab waiting to be called in to give an exam. Tom went in first, and when we left, he kissed Damien's cheek goodbye. And then instead of walking over Damien to do the same with me, he grabbed Damien by the shoulder and leaned in forward to kiss my cheek goodbye while basically laying on top of Damien. I don't even know what exactly is happening, but I know it's not appropriate.
This is not cool.
And then number 3, to close us off, sent Damien a text saying, "I like you." This may not look like a lot to you, but in my country, saying "I like you" is only used for crushes and crushes only.
Yeah, no, that was very clearly like "I like you" in like a, smoochy moochy way.
A smoochy moochy way.
There's a bunch of different ways you could have been like, "Yeah, I think you're really cool. We should hang out." I like you. It's like it's very clear.
So when we told Jake all of this, we would always tell him as soon as it happened. He always brushed it off, claiming he was trying to joke, but it came out wrong, or that when he just didn't think about going around Damien, that we misinterpreted the text, etc., etc. After a while, we just decided to start ignoring Tom. We'd wait for him to enter a room, then we'd follow a few seconds later and sit somewhere else. We'd come out of the lesson and say that we're going to miss the bus, so we all had to hurry and all that. Although I would also just miss faces whenever he spoke, because anytime he opened his mouth, all I could think of was how much better he is when he's silent. Shh.
That's a bad trait to have. When you talk and people are like, stop it.
Right? It's not good. But back to OP. It all came to a head in July. One of our friends was turning 21, and she made a small gathering at her house, and we all got wasted. And at around 1 a.m., only my friend, the birthday girl, Damien, and me, and 3 other girls remained, as well as 2 other guys. And we randomly decided to go to a club. We found the nearest one, and it happened to be the only gay club in our town. We actually have 2, but the other is in an awful neighborhood, so we can never go there. We went there, and it was already crowded. After a few hours, Damien and I needed some air, or else we'd absolutely uke everywhere.
That's a good reason to get air.
That is a good reason.
I need to go outside, or all my insides will be outside.
Ooh. let's go outside. While we were going off to the rooftop, we happened to see a very familiar face. I wonder who it could be.
I don't know. Could it be maybe Tom?
It's Tom!
Oh, boy.
It's freaking Tom, who had his face buried in another guy's face. In true Tom fashion. Mind you, Jake had gone to this girl's party too, but had left at 11 p.m. because he had a family barbecue the next day, and Tom had picked him up. Meaning, this balding booty mother effer with a wandering eye had picked up his boyfriend, my friend, dropped him off at a place, and then came to the club, cheat on him. We immediately started taking pictures and filming to make sure that we had all the evidence possible. You couldn't see his face in some pics, since you know, but in others, it was extremely obvious it was him. After that, we lied, said we got tired, and left the club. We spent about a week or so trying to see what to do, how to tell Jake, what to say. We didn't want to send the pics immediately because we thought it was something that you wanted to tell your friend in person. I had just started seeing my now boyfriend, so I asked if I could lie about one of his friends just to make up an experiment. He asked his friend, told him to lie, and he said yes. Okay. I invited Jake and Damien to my place, and we started talking. I tried to frame it as, oh, I just really want to hang out type situation and not an intervention. So we talked a lot, and then I mentioned the lie, telling Damien and Jake that my boyfriend's friend had been getting dumped by his girlfriend because he asked for an open relationship. We all immediately jumped into the whole conversation on what we do if we were in an open relationship, and Jake said that he would never even consider having one, how it was gross and all that jazz. So them having an open relationship was completely out of the equation, meaning Tom had in fact cheated. We told him later that day. We sat him down on the couch, and I told him that I had actually lied about my boyfriend's friend because we wanted to make sure that we weren't barking up the wrong tree. We told him very gently and very calm about what we had seen in the club. Jake obviously didn't believe us, and so we showed him the pictures and the videos. He watched them and became extremely angry at us.
Oh, the plot thickens.
The plot is thick as Keon's cakes right
thick
now.
like a bowl of oatmeal.
Thick like a bowl of oatmeal.
And it doesn't have a lot of water.
He started yelling at us, Dakota, telling us that he couldn't believe we were trying to ruin his relationship just because we're jealous. How he knows I hated Tom the whole time because he paid attention to Jake and not me. And how Damien was jealous that he was single and we weren't. And how he was just trying to make us as unhappy as him.
This is just like a mess. Messy.
How dare you? How dare you tell me the truth? And which, by the way, we've confirmed that he doesn't want his partner to see other people. How dare you tell me a truth that would cause you to not want to be in a relationship? How dare you? How dare you give me information that I need? He even used all the things we told him in our conversation, save for therapists, bringing up a lot of trauma and fears we both had confided in one another. I won't share Damien's since they were extremely private and personal, but let's just say he brought up my fear of intimacy and abandonment and that kind of stuff. He said that you can't see anything in the photo and the video, and how we just did it to a random who was dressed exactly like Tom and who had a similar tattoo. Tom has a huge tattoo on his arm, which he claimed he designed himself. I'd like to remind y'all, you couldn't see his face very well when he was making out with the other guy, but you can definitely tell it's him in these other pics because of said tattoo, clothes, and hair. In those pics where you can see his face, Jake said the lights made it impossible to see that it's even him at all, basically just delusioning himself that way out of the truth.
Look, sweetie pies, you can lead a horse to water, but you cannot make the horse drink from it. At this point, you got to just cut your losses, man. You're not going to, if he refuses to see the truth, then you just got to be like, all right, this is what he wants. He's like The Weeknd. He says, I don't want to know if you're playing me. Just keep it on the low. So that's what he wants. You can't tell him the truth because he won't hear it.
But if we know OP doesn't know the definition of keep it on the low. He only knows crank it to 11 out of 10. Stage a fake intervention with a lie to see if you're okay with an open relationship. That's what OP knows.
I think that needs to stop.
Well, I think
mind
it's
your
only
business
gonna
at this
snowball.
point. Mind your business at this point.
MYOB, says Dakota, and that should be law.
I just don't think you got anything. You got no vertical movement here. You've got no wiggle room. It's not going to happen. You've already told him.
Well, he left and blocked us everywhere, even leaving the group chat we made with all of our common friends. We explained to our friend group about what happened, and they also tried to talk some sense into Jake, which never worked. He just yelled at whoever told him and would then just block him. After he cut contact with 2 members of our friend group, we told them just to drop it because we didn't think it was a good idea to alienate Jake from all of us. We didn't hear much from Jake and Tom after that, since they also avoided us everywhere we went in our college. Tom even switched classes to not be in the same room as us, and in our 4th and 5th year, he made sure to have not signed up for any of the same classes we were in. Actually, he signed up in different groups since our classes are all split up in different groups that went on different days and different hours. But we graduated, and after that, we never talked to Jake again. So that was the end of the story. I know it seems shocking. It's crazy. What was Jake on? But just like Jake, I just lied.
Oh, because there's more story?
There's more story.
Oh. They
graduated. The next sentence says, we graduated, and after that, we never talked to Jake again until just last week. Could I dare ask us to don, I love your hat, but we might have to don the conspiracy theory hats. What do you think, pray tell, is going to happen here next, Dakota?
I think John sees the light, becomes maybe some kind of philanthropist. No, I don't know. I think John's maybe going to pretend like nothing ever happened. That's my gut. That's my gut check right now.
Do you mean John or do you mean Jake?
I'm sorry, Jake. I
feel like an anime character.
Sorry, I got lost in your eyes there, John, and I...
Oh, because you can see him so well, baby.
Misplaced a name. Yeah, no, I think Jake will try to just like be like, oh my God, hey, and just like pretend like nothing has happened. That's my gut. That's my gut check.
Because the relationship's going to fail, and he's going to kind of come crawling back and just like try to just...
I think Jake's going to be like, what even was that? Wasn't that crazy?
Dakota, I think that is not only a great theory, but I think we need to get back to reality to see if that is the truth. We found this out through one of the very few friends we had kept in touch with after college. All of this I found out through her, so I do apologize if it's not as detailed as you may hope. Apparently, he had caught up with Tom. He had caught Tom with another guy, and he tried to do what he always did, excuse it, say it was okay, it was a slip up, etc. But Tom broke up with him to be with the new guy. Wow.
I wonder if he's still sticking with it. You know, he's still like, I mean, we broke up and he's living with another guy, but like he'll be back.
Well, they shared an apartment, but Tom owned it beforehand, so it was his apartment. And so he made sure that Jake was out of the apartment. Jake had to move in with his parents for some time and then get a new apartment of his own. But he's obviously distraught. After all, he was just dumped and now lost a relationship of almost 6 years.
I mean, was it really a relationship of 6 years if he's just been like, backseated and cheated on like for most of it?
So Opie says he has been slowly talking to the friend he cut ties with after they tried to warn him about Tom, and he recently began talking to them about wanting to apologize to Damien and I. However, I don't know if I ever want to talk to him again. He had said some incredibly hurtful things about us. He insulted us, brought up all the things we told him in private, and threw it in our faces. And now he wants to apologize, and I don't even want to look at him or have him in the same building as me. Damien's currently living in another state, so he's away from this, but I'm still staying in our town, meaning I can't escape him much. I was talking to a friend about it, trying to see what to do, and she said that she understood, but that I should try to be empathetic for his situation. I told her I can't feel empathy for someone who willingly adored everything his boyfriend did and then cut ties with everyone who tried to show him the truth. I told her I understand he's sad and upset, and we told him multiple times many years ago that this guy was bad news, that he was a cheater, a D, and he ignored all of it just to be with a mediocre looking guy who had no personality at all. He can cry all he wants. I do not feel bad for him. He could jump out of the relationship and instead stayed in the train headed for the cliff and is now shocked that the train fell off the cliff. He can go cry to the crying factory, but he better not come to me to do it. Rough translation, it was said in Spanish.
He could go cry to the crying factory is my new favorite thing.
Go cry in the crying factory, bro.
Go cry to the crying factory. They probably need you over there.
They're trying to increase production.
Yeah,
you know
real
what I'm saying?
good at it. You're
increase production.
You probably be manager in like 6 months.
Anyways, by the way, guys, speaking of those kinds of things, we have a podcast. Yeah, dude. It's on Spotify. It's on Google Podcasts. It's on Apple Podcasts. If you want to just search OK Storytime and just go there and just listen to full episodes of stories like this, Dakota,
just like this.
They can do it.
Identical to stories like that.
But Dakota, we're almost at the end of the story. What are we thinking here? I mean, what's going through your head as we come to a close?
Hey, wow. Oh my God. Sometimes you meet people and know people in your life, and then they turn out to be like, liars like Tom, right? Who's bad. And sometimes you have friends who are dating people like Tom, and then they get real mean and nasty towards you. And guess what? You know what happens after they do that to you?
What happens, Dakota?
You don't have to be friends with them anymore. You can cut them out of your life.
Okay.
And you don't have to feel bad about it because they've shown you that they stink. Sometimes we don't need stinky people in our life. And sometimes, they tolerated the stink for a while. But at one point, the stink gets so acute, you can't ignore it anymore.
I see your point. I'm going to ask you this question. And I also am going to ask for a poll for the chat. A-hole or not? Is OP an a-hole or not? I think while OP has every right in the world to basically say, hey, look, I tried to warn you. If you wanted to come to me at any of the times I was trying to get through to you, of which there were many, yes, I think we could have reconciled at that point. But at this point, I just can't waste my energy anymore. And it's years later and I've moved on. I just don't want to entertain that. I feel like you could have accomplished the same thing without saying, go cry to the crying factory. Do you think OP was an a-hole for saying what he did? Is it justified?
I mean, no, because this person is shooting back at them. It's like Jake was being nasty. It's not like Jake was like, I mean, guys, he's fine. It was like, he's fine and also you suck. And it's like, what? I saw your boyfriend suck in someone's face.
You're right. Like,
now I suck? So yeah, I think if he's like, oh my God, I can't believe it. It's like, yeah, go cry to the crying factory, little cry boy. I have no sympathy for your tears. I already told you what was going to happen.
We have currently 96% of chat. I'm going to withhold my decision to the end of the story, so you watching have got to stick around.
Yeah.
We're going to get to the end.
Let's go.
Opie says, my friend said she understood that I had all the right in the world to be mad and upset at him, but that it wasn't okay for me to not even feel an ounce of sympathy for him. I told her all of my sympathy left the moment he weaponized my trauma, forgot about that part, and insecurities to defend himself. When he told him about Tom cheating on him, she left, but she did say that it was okay for me to not talk to him again, but that, again, it wasn't okay for me to not even say, oh, poor thing in this situation. So, am I the a-hole for not even feeling bad for my ex-friend after his boyfriend of 6 years dumped him? Let's get a final vote from chat. Let's see where the numbers. 94%. We do have 6% saying the a-hole.
Almost consensus.
I would say you're not the a-hole, but it's not the high road. So I'll go not the a-hole. But I do think, especially after all these years, like, would you snap back that hard? Like, if it was, I don't know what the timeline of like years ago it was, but let's say it was 3 or 4 years ago. Would you be like, or would you just be like, I'm just not going to touch it?